This is YoshnJa from Tactics League, and today I am joined with Guitarmanager, the champion of the 2025 Winter Cup Number 1 event that happened on February 23rd, 2025. How's it going, Guitar?
Hello. It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. And it's awesome. It's so awesome to always be able to put a picture and a face to the name. I know a lot of people were like, "Wow, that's Wingman" when he first did his recording, so I'm glad that you get to have your turn too.
Tried to trim the beard so I looked a little less homeless for the.
you you look great. You look great. So
Thank
we're
you.
just having a little chat, little chit chat about last weekend's event. I got a couple questions I want to ask you, kind of just a couple things about pretty much how you felt about the tournament as a whole, and how you think you did with your team, and any challenges you came across during the event, and that pretty much be it. Okay.
Yeah, as a whole, I was just really excited to start the tournament. I know that's how I found the group. I watched, I think the second or the original tournament, realized that this was a thing that I needed to get into real quick. And then as far as seeing people's team comps, there was some wild stuff that caught me by surprise for sure. So it was like some fresh ideas out there was really nice to see. Good to see some new faces as well.
Oh, for sure.
Some new players did really well and really caught some people off guard, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. I was really excited to see that we had new faces coming into the competitive scene as well. Those faces in particular, referring to as Cook and Doggo K. I'm really glad to see that these are brand new players that have. I know Cook's been around for a little bit longer than Doggo, I think, at this point, but they're both brand new to competing, and Guitar is actually brand new as well, technically in terms of competition play too. But those two are brand new to the server more so it was really awesome to see them coming in and really putting up a good fight too at that. Like they did not back down easily. It was really awesome to see that. I have a question for you. So, out of all that you got to play, and I know you didn't really get too many matches because we had 6 players, so technically there was like a bye in the beginning that we had to go through, and then we had to set up the semifinals. But either way, what challenges did you come across during the tournament?
well, I knew ahead of time with my team comp being so re-equip heavy, I was going to have some challenges with the clock.
Okay.
um, and it definitely did a little bit. I did a lot of practice matches, kind of saw what I would go to in certain scenarios, but you can never predict anything. Um, Other than that, there were just a few little like if I made a misplay or like oh I didn't do things right, didn't set the team up quite how I wanted. But I knew there were just a few key things that I needed to kind of do before each match if I had the time, as far as setup, and I think that overall went well.
Nice. And actually, speaking of which, you mentioned something about re-equip. Of course, seeing your teams in advance prior to the event, I noticed that you were running a couple of re-equip units as well. Um, can you kind of explain like what was kind of the premise behind that? Just kind of an extra question for you. Why did you go with re-equip? 'Cause I know a lot of people tend to like why would you use re-equip in most cases, but what was your thought process in actually running re-equip as an ability for support?
Well, I've been aware of it for a while, but I mean, like seeing Dr. J use it really is the big influence there.
Yeah.
Like some of the creative plays he was able to come up with on the fly. I wanted a team that was a little bit more difficult to use, but a little bit more flexible. I kind of tend towards the like all damage, big AOE units, and I wanted something a little fresher.
Okay.
So I just wanted my team to be a little more versatile and able to deal with a slightly wider range of things this time around.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely
Yes.
understand that. Yeah, reequip seems to be like kind of like an underdog skill, honestly. Like you're saying, having the flexibility of looking at your opponent's stuff and like, okay, I can't do this or I need to prepare for that. That's the only ability in the game that gives you that type of flexibility as well. So even though you don't get uh increased damage or increased defenses, whatnot, where you could with other skills, reequip allows you to flex your units into being able to prepare for the battle ahead. So it's really cool that you got to use that, and it's awesome to see that got some inspiration from Dr. J. He was one of the first people to actually showcase that in competitive play. The capabilities of being able to use re-equip in competitive. So it was really cool that you took that inspiration and it kind of meshed it within your own team.
Yeah, I kind of threw it back at him a little bit. He had a Dark Knight unit, and I was able to do some weapon breaking with Rafa a little bit in our game, which was a lot of fun.
Okay, okay.
But I wouldn't have learned it if I hadn't played against him,
Yeah, yeah.
in the past. So,
No, that's awesome though. Like either way, I took some inspiration, and even though I use that inspiration against the person I learned it from, like it's still cool that you have that opportunity to really be able to showcase it once more. Like this re-equip is definitely a useful skill. So
yeah,
let's. Oh, go ahead.
uh, oh, sorry. That was kind of with a lot of the units on my team. Kind of getting inspiration a lot from like Rumor and Fells with some of the big magic stack knight builds for my like alternate knight unit,
Yeah.
the Unholy Sacrifice unit, and yeah, there was a lot of. I think one of the only things I really, other than the Rafa re-equip, really felt like was a novelty was maybe the Chemist unit
Okay.
with Summon. I'm sure other people have tried it, but that's something that's a unit I've been excited about for a really long time, even though it's not a super exciting unit at first glance, but it really holds the team together well.
Right, right, and yeah, I believe I made a few comments about that during the event. It was the summon chemist, so she was using primarily. I believe you had it mostly built for Golem, correct? Since she already had
Yeah,
natural bulk and stuff like that.
she's there for Golem and Moogle and maybe a Hail Mary Fairy there, but it's mainly the Golem.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. That's cool that you're able to take a job that's normally not a caster job at all, and kind of tune it to that you can have enough impede where you can actually use some summon skills and use that as a utilitarian unit, especially early game when you don't have to worry about being aggressed on just yet. So that's really awesome. So another question for you. Was there any particular players or teams that had you worried?
Yeah, I mean there were definitely some particular units. I will say like just in general, Dr. J is always a big. If even if he's losing a match, he will come up with some crazy roll the dice kind of plays to really keep things going.
Yeah.
Or when he's on a roll, he steamrolls. But as far as like particular units, Rumors Orator is always a big threat. I've seen other players do use that unit, but he always calculates it very well. He's very skilled with that unit. So I knew I'd probably see some of those in the tournament from somebody today, or somebody the other day.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Construct 8 was a big factor with my team, especially my primary team. So seeing Doggo, um, and I know Doggo is still kind of figuring that unit out, but that was definitely like a nail biter. I could potentially deal with that later in the tournament.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah, those were kind of the big obvious things I was thinking of.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and there were, I mean, plenty of threats from all the teams. There was a lot of damage variety this tournament, particularly with Dr. J's team. So is in our matches, it was kind of whoever got the ball rolling first on their units had a pretty big advantage, and at any point you could have done the same. So
Yeah. Understood. I am
a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm so sad I didn't get the chance to be able to watch that and or had a playback for it, but I assume that those matches went by pretty intense. And I'm pretty sure Dr. J put up a show either way, just as much as you did, between y'all two. So looks like I kind of wish I was able to kind of sneak in there and kind of get a sneak peek of what was going on there.
I let the drain timer almost drain out on that first game with him.
Oh no,
It was just like I gotta calculate everything here, or else
yeah,
things will fall apart.
I got you. All right. So another question for you. Did you think, or excuse me, rather, did your tournament roster perform as intended? Did you think that you ran into any roadblocks, which you kind of touched on already? But even with that being said, do you have any units that you would consider would be your main MVP throughout the entire tournament?
Yeah. So the first part of that question, the team did work as I intended. I didn't play it quite optimally, and I'd
Yeah.
love to see some other players kind of play similar setups a little better than I did. Um, yeah, I kind of tried. The idea was to leave myself some options during the setup phase of the game, especially on the bigger maps. So like having Dragonheart on the Dark Knight, and like a low damage weapon from Rafa initially. She could trigger that potentially. That was a big part of the strategy.
Okay.
Quick, quick from the time age kind of adds a lot of options there. I think almost every game was just Golem, but it can still kind of act as a stable unit for rush teams, even in those big maps.
Yeah.
I think we've all played against a team that like had just some incredible range shenanigan or like some first round craziness, even on the larger maps. So
Okay.
in that regard, it worked as intended. I mean, the MVP for sure for all my game ones was Rafa. I mean, she
Nice.
just put a lot of pressure on. Even if she wasn't dealing a lot of damage, I was able to equip her and place her on the battlefield kind of where I needed her to be at most times.
Okay.
Um, so she just had a lot of mitigation options. I never really got to put ribbon on her, but that was always an option for high, status teams. But yeah, just for her overall flexibility. And then for game twos, I would say the MVP was definitely the Unholy Sacrifice Dark Knight,
Yeah,
which
that was something.
it also puts out some good holy damage from the Knight skill. But
Saint Cross.
Saint Cross, yeah.
I got you. I got you.
I'm such a visual person, I never remember the
No,
names.
you're good. No, as a more or less as a Rafa connoisseur, awesome to see that you brought her in. We had a really nice array of unique flexibility in the event, so it was really good to see that all six competitors uh, all had different uniques in their main team, and then most of them had different uniques in their reserves too. So it was really cool to see the flexibility. It was really awesome to see Rafa getting put in there in the main and her doing well too. I mean, like you were saying, she didn't necessarily like do the craziest thing in the world, but she did her job. She took out those pesky protect shell mitigation through Heaven's Wrath and allowed her team to follow up and get the finishing blow. Like I remember on the Onion Knight when we were playing against Rumor on Limberry Cascore in Grand Finals, that being able to shut off the protect shell on a unit that's extremely bulky and open them wide up for full damage is very important in order to get those killing blows. So it was really cool to see you running Rafa. Um, that night during the Golgolata game, game two, yeah, I can't really say otherwise. Who was the MVP for that one? I mean that unit literally, you went from getting bum rushed and blitzed by Rimmer turn one, losing three of your units right off the bat. The Dragon Heart you was mentioning earlier uh, really kicked in on that Dark Knight, because if you didn't have it activate, that game might have probably didn't work out as well as it did in your favor ultimately. But being able to like get in position to get that unholy sacrifice, heal your Dark Knight to full, get a double kill off off the unholy sacrifice. You know that though the knight died in return, it set you up to take the map. And that whole play was just that was mostly all her. So huge shout out to, I believe her name was it Marcy? Marasi?
Yeah, it's some characters from some Brandon Sanderson books that I'm into, but
I don't know. I like it. I like
yeah.
it. It's always good to put a
Um,
little extra touch on units and stuff like that, especially from your own personal view and certain stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and in that second game, I mean, Meliodol did kill two units as well.
True. Yep.
And then Delita kind of handled itself. um, it's kind of the nature of Rumor's build. It's an all or nothing kind of thing, and I just barely got that like comeback. So
Yeah. No, you did an
um,
awesome job on the recovery though. It'd be big bravo to you. I imagine a lot of people are probably like, I don't know how he's gonna get out of this, but you played it smartly, and so that Dragonheart on the Dark Knight definitely helped out a lot too, and you managed to get the recovery, you managed to get the retaliation turn back around, and where it went from this isn't looking good to I've got this, like next thing you know. So that was really good play, and that really showcases like high end competitive tactics, and it's really good to see that happen live too.
I looked at my girlfriend after the match. Luckily she was letting me hang out at her place and play video games all day while she worked.
Awesome.
But I looked at her and I was like, everybody thought that was going to game three, and she looked at me and she's like, you thought that was going to game three. So
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like it for sure. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So For anyone that is looking at getting into tactics PvP, what would you recommend? What would be some of your tips that you would give them if they're looking to actually get into the Tactics League and playing Final Fantasy Tactics PvP?
So if you're watching this, you probably watched the tournament or have at least watched some of the games already. Don't be afraid to go use some similar archetype units that other people are doing. So if you see like a really high magic stack like caster, try that out on your team. See how it works. Maybe don't rip every little last thing from somebody, but there's no like sacred unit in these games. We all have the access to the same stuff, so you're really not we all do a little bit of imitating here and there.
Mhm.
So try some of what other people are trying out and build on that. Go watch rumors, or I'm sorry, go watch Wingman's talks after his tournaments. He gave some good advice. Um, and get matches in. But yeah, as far as like just big things in the game, look at where your opponents are having a lot of success. I know with a lot of players early on, they don't understand the importance of like CT counting, which just basically checking turn orders of things, realizing how important like haste is on a larger map,
Mhm.
just keeping your units going as often as possible. But then also realizing, if your opponents have some very high speed units, there's ways to counter that. If you're able to force your tempo, your opponents to come to you a little bit, like sort of in me and Rumor's first game, even though he did have like some range on his team, it did feel like he had to kind of come to me a little bit. So finding strategic ways to do that, it keeps the game fresh and fun, and then that's when your more creative ideas come around. But just getting those basic ideas, watching other people play, seeing what's working and what doesn't work.
Okay. I,
That that's kind of where I started.
yeah, no, those are definitely solid pointers. I mean, yeah, I 100% agree. Everyone has a basis somewhere, so like being able to kind of take some inspiration from what you see happening, either from past footage or if you're like in the Tactics League server in Discord and catching a live streamed match and then kind of just either chit chatting or just kind of watching and observing the game. Like, okay, yeah, that build looks kind of cool, or asking about it and stuff like that. That definitely goes a long way. And yeah, there's a lot of different build variety and different things you can do with the Tactics League PvP patch. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. But you can also always start small and slow and kind of build your way up. And that's always a good base ground. Like you're not going to be able to like probably figure it all out in a day. That's not practical. But
Um,
yeah, like just being able to like come in and kind of try a little bit here and there and maybe try and get one of Guitar's builds and maybe try one of Rumor's builds and Jay or
yeah.
Wingman stuff like that, and then kind of getting a feel for it and make it your own eventually. Kind of changing it up a little bit, like add your own little spice to it. Always is a plus too. Yeah, definitely dig those tips. So
And I guess
oh good.
one more quick point on
Oh, you're
that.
good.
Everybody kind of has different learning speeds too. I think my first game with Fells, he won. I just like, whoa, this I've never even seen this guy on this server before, and then I've had players. It took several games for them to finally get me. But you learn something new every time, whether you're winning or losing, and I think
Sure.
that to me that's fun. I remember the amount of times I lost to like Wingman for when we first started playing. And it's like, man, every time I lost to him, I just learned something new, or Dr. J, or everybody else too.
There you
So
go. Yeah, no, take those losses as learning experiences. I mean, at the end of the day, you're playing casually. Maybe even if there's a little extra sweat involved, you're still playing
yeah,
casually. So like every loss is a learning experience, just like it is in life, just as much so. Um, yeah, don't take it too hard. Don't take it too like the worst thing possible. But I learned something new, like something I just didn't pick up on. I didn't know about an interaction, or I didn't know that that was even a thing. Like those are how you fundamentally become a better player. Honestly, in almost in all things too. So definitely works out really well.
you, and you learn what goes well against your units that your and your particular team. So
Yeah,
I think that allows you to build more flexibility in how your units synergize together. So
for sure, for sure. Well, Guitar, do you have any last remarks you'd like to make before we close this up?
I I'm super hyped for the next version of the game. I know a lot of other people are probably thinking a lot about it. But overall, I'm super excited to have found the channel and all the work you put into it.
Thank you.
It's definitely given me a good outlet for that competitive aspect of my life.
Awesome. Awesome.
So yeah, I enjoy it a lot and have met some good friends on the channel too. So
Great.
love to see it grow and anybody who anybody new struggling, don't feel free to ask. I know other people have said this in the past, but there's quite a few people on the channel that are really big into helping, and I'd consider myself one of them as well. But particularly Countess or Mistral is really big on that too. So it gets some of the older players more excited when some of the newer players come in asking a lot of questions as well.
It does.
So
You're definitely not wrong there. It definitely does. Yeah. Once again, congrats to you, Guitar, for being the grand champion of the 2025 Winter Cup number one event. Um, you and Rumor definitely put up a show. Congrats to Rumor too. He's not part of this interview, but
yeah,
I do want to still throw a shout out. He did an awesome job. Going from start to finish, making it all the way to the end as well. And we did watch his playthrough all the way to the end, so he did an amazing job just as much. Uh, Guitar and Rumor both have won an exclusive private invitation to the version 5 exhibition match, which is still being determined on the date, but I will actually be rolling that out here and figuring that out here soon. It more likely will be sometime early March, so I will keep you all posted, both on Tactics League website, Discord, and social media outlets as well. I'm super excited for you to get your hands on a guitar. I know there's a ton of love and a ton of time went into this update, and I'm like, I
awesome.
honestly like barely can hold it, well, barely hold it in at this point. About the amount of things that are coming and the amount of huge quality of life changes is like one of the bigger things, highlights of the update. And I'm really excited to see what new creations and things that you'll be able to get your hands onto and get to make and craft, and as much as everyone else. So I'll definitely look forward to that exhibition match. And yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have this little talk with me for a little bit, and I will catch you around.
Yeah, it was great to talk with you, Yosh. I
All right.
appreciate everything.
Thank you. And you have a good one.
You too, man.